Welcome to Open House, where every conversation opens a new perspective. With us today is Mr. Chee Tong, an officially ordained Taoist priest who has just recently graduated from NUS. With a degree in social sciences, he aims to pursue a career in social work while continuing his priest duties. Now, welcome to Open House, Chee Tong. So to begin, can you share with us about how you first discovered Taoism and your decision to not just discover the religion or the faith, but also to venture into priesthood, especially when you used to be an atheist and I think a Christian as well?
Yes. For me, I've always been more of a spiritual person. Yeah, even though I'm atheist, but I wouldn't say like atheist, but maybe agnostic, It's always a question mark. And I'm trying to find a religion or a certain practice that fits my understanding of what the divine is. I like to explore religions in a way where I like to read out about their philosophy, their ideology, their thinking. Because to me, it's the best way that humans can come to understand our existence. Taoism has this book called the 𝙬𝙚𝙚𝙧𝙚. So the first chapter says that the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. This is really very refreshing because, while every other religion is telling you who God is, what God do, how is he like, and all those. But Taoism tells you that, God is so profound, or the divine is so profound that it cannot be limited by human understanding. Any way or any means or method to capture God in its essence means reducing God to our human understanding. Yeah, so I was just like, this is really interesting. It fits what I believe about God, So I went into more of the philosophy side of Taoism. But then, as much as I explored the philosophical side, I realized that, I want to know how can I put this into practice. So I started exploring more of maybe the religious side to see how can the religious practice help me in this. One day, I had a dream that this old man that came into my dream and told me to find this specific temple.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I remember that I woke up in the middle of the night searching is there really this temple? Because I don't go to temples, yeah. Then I was like, there's really this temple.
Here in Singapore?
In Singapore.
Oh,
it's at MacPherson, near MacPherson. So I saw that they have a Facebook page. I clicked inside and I saw that they have a recent post where they are starting a scripture chanting class taught by a Taoist master. I was like, okay. That's interesting. So I DM'd the person, which was my master now, and he asked me to come down to join him. So I went down that following week, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
And so what really attracted you to
Taoism?
Yeah.
Because Taoism cherishes life. So life is something that is very important to us. So actually, as much as Taoism, in modern days, people like to talk about the afterlife of Taoism. It's very vibrant about the 18 levels of hell, that type of concept. But actually, in its original form, Taoism don't like to talk about that. It's something that we will never know until we die. In Taoism, there's this concept that says, why are we worrying about afterlife, about death, when we have a life now to live?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was something that captured me a lot. I want to live my life now. If I appreciate every single moment of it and I cherish every single moment of it, then I don't have to regret. I don't have to worry about what I do in the afterlife. If you're a good person, that you're a good person, then let your own merits take you to where you are.
It was something like what we were sort of chatting about earlier,
Yes.
right? So if I were to ask you, right, is God and religion the same thing?
I think no. Honestly, I don't think so. Even while I was a Christian, that's the answer I have as well. Because you don't have to be religious to experience God. That's what I believe in. Even in nature, like I recently went to Bali and went for a hike to the mountains with my friends. They are all not religious and all. But when we climb to the top and we see the sunrise, all of us experience this sense of tranquility and peace. And this feeling of awe that comes from nature, or you could say it's divine beauty,
Right.
Yeah, but they're not religious. How are they able to experience that? They felt love, they felt warm, they felt embraced by this whole divine thing.
Yeah, that feeling. So is that what you're describing?
Yes, that feeling. Why is it that the divine nature that people feel is always so beautiful, but sometimes you don't get to experience that in a organization, a religious organization.
That's right,
Yeah, so I think that religious organizations are more of a school to guide people or guide society. As much as it is that, I think that it is a easier way for people to experience and come to connect with God through their curated ways. Yeah, but it is not for everyone. But it's like a pair of shoes, Yeah, you find the one that fits you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe share with us a little bit about, the time when you were atheist and then when you went into Christianity. What was not sort of working for you, for you to get on that path?
What was not working for me?
Yeah, or what worked for you?
Because I have no experience with organized religion back then. So when I get into Christianity, actually I got to know more about how religion function. Yeah, so there's this whole idea of like religious authority and how to formulate like a sermon or something to get into the hearts of people, how to talk to people, that type of skills, I think. Yeah, I think that was something that worked well for me. And I do see that when you have a set of teachings or something that is more black and white listed down, people are able to connect with that idea of God more easier.
Right. And I think, if I may just also share, like sometimes I also struggle, like what is it that you want out of that relationship with God? Which is why this is so interesting, because you are, young and you're 24 and you've decided to even take it a step further and go into priesthood, while many of us who may be even older have still these questions about our relationship with God. Would you consider Taoism a religion, a faith, like for Hinduism, we often call it a way of life. Does the same thing apply?
I think it is all at once. Yeah, there are many facets of like Taoism. It really depends on which perspective you are looking from. But it is both a way of life, it's both a religion, and it's also a faith.
Faith as well.
Yes,
and so how did that prompt you? What prompted you within that faith and the religion to take it to the next level?
So I'm more of those people that pursue knowledge more. I like to know more about things. And the only way, is to be a priest. That's one of the reasons why I want to become a priest. I think when I first started out, it's more of personal reasons. I want to learn the ways to cultivate myself. So we have this idea of like cultivation or practice. So I wanted to seek out the ways of Taoist meditation, which is very different. That is only taught to priests as well.
So you had to sort of get into the priesthood. Right.
But I think along the way, I found out that I have maybe a gift in teaching, explaining concepts to people. Yeah. So it's along the way where I find a purpose in being a priest. Like, how do I make use of my priesthood to educate people?
I see. And that's what
prompts me now.
I see. Yeah, so what sort of work do you do as a priest?
So I'm mainly active on social media because I think that social media is a great platform, to educate people, especially to the masses. I'm very youth-centric, so I lead a group of youth in my society as well. So we are always doing promoting like interfaith works. It's usually more of ground-up set of activities where they will say, oh, I want to explore a certain faith. So then we will really go and explore a certain faith and immerse ourselves in that religion to find out more, to find the similarities. And also, I always say, as much as we find the similarities, we also need to find the differences. Yeah, because, I think in Singapore, we don't like to talk about differences. Yeah, but I think that coming to know about differences is what allows us to, appreciate.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, the diversity and all those. And other than that, on a whole, now we are venturing into prison services. Yeah, to do counseling and all those.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's really more towards community work and promoting interfaith understanding and all.
Now, you mentioned earlier that social media is the best way to reach out to the audience, right? So, coming to the users of social media, so the younger generation like Gen Zs and most of them, I would say, a lot of them are free thinkers or atheists today, compared to those millennials or baby boomers, who subscribe to a particular religion or faith, right? Now, why do you think there's a lack of, that stronghold in faith within your generation?
I think, honestly, I kind of know why, but I think it's mostly due to the disappointment in organized religion.
Oh, okay. How so?
The world is advancing really fast. I think the youths are getting more educated. Their perspective and mind has been opened up by the world. Especially youths who like freedom, who like to explore. Being in a religion kind of constricts them. Yeah, so I think that's why there's that whole difference in it. The idea of a god or the concept of a god now that the youth have is much bigger. Like for example, Taoism, the gods are still confined to this idea of a statue. To them, they are thinking about, God should be very big, should be omnipotent, omnipresent. Yeah, but why is it that in this religion or that religion, the idea of a god is so limited? At my society, we actually have a lot of youths. I think we have like 40 plus youths. Yeah, they are all wanting to become a Taoist priest. Yes, and I come to realize that if I talk to them in very childish terms, in terms of like, God is this person, then or that, they'll have that I don't care kind of look. But if you really go into the question of like, what is God to you? How do you perceive God? Is God just a statue, or is God everywhere? Are you God? Is God separated from us, or is it one with us? All these kind of questions, they get so interested. They love to talk about their ideas, their understanding of it. And I think that's the reason why. I think because people are not satisfied with the current understanding of God that religion can provide. And I think there's another reason as well, place of worship has always served a communal purpose, offering a sense of support, that sense of solace, could be relieving stress as well. Yeah, but maybe sometimes it doesn't fit into the fast-paced life of the current modern society. Yeah, so people was like, I will remain spiritual, but I don't partake in these religious activities anymore. Yeah.
So when you mentioned, you remain spiritual, I think a lot of people, every religion has good in it. And of course, every religion has its way of sharing this, right? This message, basically. And, it's interesting that you mentioned that they may not subscribe to the organized religion, but they are spiritual. Now, what does spirituality really mean?
I think spirituality to me is not about morals and concepts. Spirituality in a whole, it means our human innate nature to want to connect to something divine. I think it's that feeling when you look up into the stars and you go, wow, I am part of this wonderful, beautiful world, universe, whatever. And you come to that realization, as much as we want to be part of God, we want to be one with God, we want to be one with the beauty, but we have always been a part of it, and it's that moment of realization or that feeling of wanting to be there, which I call it spirituality, something to connect.
And, on your TikTok, you've made a lot of videos, speaking about Taoism, and you're trying to make it more accessible to the younger generation right now. If non-Chinese want to participate in Taoism or want to learn more, do you think they will be able to do that?
Yes, definitely. Actually, we have a few overseas students as well. So actually, we have an Italian and a lady from Netherlands. They are going to be ordained as priests next year, January.
Wow.
Yeah, so they train really hard for it. Taoism, the wisdom of it is not just confined to just the Chinese. Anyone that subscribes to us, the belief of Tao, and want to abide by the values of compassion, frugality, and humility can be a Taoist, Yeah, so it is open to all. Yeah.
That's right. Now, you mentioned earlier that, with the younger generation, they are looking for answers to maybe to better their life and etc. You also had some challenges when you were in NS, I think. Now, what did you do at that point, in terms of your faith? Were you like angry with God, or, how did you handle that? Because a lot of times what happens is when something goes wrong, the first thing we do is like, why me? God is like, why did you do this to me? But the question becomes, if it's not you, then are you hoping to inflict it on someone else? Yes. And then that becomes a moral issue for the person. How do you deal with your struggles?
Actually, in that period of time, I think God to me offered me a sense of support. Actually, I have something that I can hold to know that, as much as I am in trouble, there's still somebody with me, or some presence with me. So that's how it helped me to got through that period of time. But I know that it doesn't work for everyone. I know some people will blame it on God. Yeah, like you said. Why me?
Yes, the first thing we often do is, I think it's human nature probably to want to put the blame somewhere first, right?
Yes.
And the first person we can blame is God, right? Yes. Because we expect God to have everything smooth sailing, right? But another question that, in life, good happens, bad happens. Right. Now, how does that work in Taoism? Like, how do you explain the bad that, because people have this conception that, oh, if I'm religious, if I put in the work with God, bad things shouldn't happen to me.
Yes, I think this is a wonderful question, because I think that in Taoism, a lot of people go to prayers or they participate in rituals or do good because they want to have a blessings, they want to have a good life, they want to have good health. These are fine. I think it's human nature to want
good things
want
for
good
yourself.
things. Yeah, but these are not right view, because in Taoism, our ultimate goal is to be one with Tao, or you could say liberation. Or Hinduism, they say moksha,
Moksha, that's right.
Yeah. So this is not a right view to have when you are in a religion, because it doesn't allow you to attain this liberation. Okay, so in Taoism, you see the logo of the yin and yang. So the yin and yang can symbolize good and bad as well. So actually good and bad is two sides of the same coin. So as much as we want blessings, we want our life to be good, we must always be prepared for the bad to happen, because there are two sides of the same coin.
That's right.
Yeah. Sometimes we say life cannot get too perfect, because if life gets too perfect, it will just go down afterwards. Yeah. So
what goes up must
come down, and what goes down must come up as well. So I think this is a concept that we have in Taoism. That's why it's always about having neutrality, bring a balance to our life. Yeah, as we are happy for the good things that happen in our life, we must also be prepared for the bad things. And if we have the bad things in life, don't be disappointed, don't be disheartened, because it means that the good things will come again. Yeah, it's always a cycle of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, another question that I wanted to just ask you is, what are some common misconceptions that people have of priests?
I think they will always ask me like, oh, can a priest get married? Or they will think that we are the same as Buddhist monks. Buddhism and Taoism are two different religions. At its core, it's different. Yeah. So the way of life is different as well. Although there are Taoist priests that live like a Buddhist monk, where they observe celibacy and vegetarian diet, but it doesn't apply to all. It really depends on the context and history of that certain sect that they have.
I see.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So there's one misconception that they have.
Now, how can we begin our journey into understanding God in itself? Like sometimes, like if I may share, right? I go to the temple. I'm there to pray, but my mind is a blank as I'm looking at the deity and I'm praying. When I look around the temple, I see others are so deep in thought and they're immersed in that moment, and I feel like, wow, it's so wonderful to have that relationship with God, because it's nice every now and then, like parents, right? You feel like you can run to your parents whenever you feel trouble or have a challenge you need to overcome. Then they guide you through it and they walk you through it. Personally, for me, I feel like God takes on that role as well. So how can we, all start that journey into understanding, it can be any religion, to get started like yourself?
To me, I believe that God is not confined to just the external material world, but it is inside of us as well. I believe that all of us have a divine nature. This is why, when you say they're so deep in thought and all those,
That's right.
I think it's good to start looking within yourself first. Start by reflecting on your own essence, your own nature. So knowing what you want, knowing who you are as a person. Come to understand who you are truly first. And when you come to know yourself truly, then suddenly you might one day find that deep connection with your own divine nature, and you'll be able to connect with the external
So I
God.
need to do some work.
I mean, if there are no statues there, there's nothing that you can use your sight to hold on to, How do you find God?
Find it
Within ourselves, yeah.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. So I think coming to that, is that also something that you share with the younger generation as well? You say you work with a lot of youth. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how do you really work with them? And, what do you hope to get through your videos that you share on TikTok?
My motivation for sharing about Taoism in TikTok is I'm seeing Taoism evolving into a religion of desires and superstitions. It's like people only believe in Taoism because they want to pray for a certain thing. Or, they will say that, oh, this practice you cannot do because of certain superstition that nobody can explain. Yeah, so I don't like to see that.
I see.
I feel that Taoism is a beautiful religion. I think that it has lessons and wisdom that is so profound, but these are not taught to other people. I feel that my videos now are still at a very surface level type of videos where I address misconception. I try to stop the superstitions that are going around and really explain to people what are these practices about. Remind them of its original purpose. Yeah. For example, like joss paper burning. Yeah, and this is actually not a Taoism practice. It's actually a Chinese practice instead.
I see. It's a cultural
It's
practice.
a cultural practice.
I see.
Yeah, but Taoism has adopted that because we can use this practice to guide people to the lessons, to the wisdom, to the Tao. When we adopted it, is so that we can guide people to say that, oh, as much as we burn this joss paper, we need to remind ourselves that we will one day be the person
on the other side.
Yeah. So through the burning of joss paper, where we use the joss paper as a medium to transmit our messages, our remembrance
of the person.
Yes, of the person. It's also a way to cultivate our own filial piety to our ancestors or to our living parents, living elders as well. It's like, don't wait until they die, then you come and do this kind of thing.
That's right, yeah. So it sounds like when we have certain rituals or practices in any religion, it's really also about the connection, human connection,
yes,
right?
It's, as much as it is towards the dead or the afterlife, the most important is actually to the living humans.
Right. Now, what do you appreciate most about Taoism? Or what do you love most about Taoism? Or even as a priest, what do you love most about it?
I like doing rituals actually. Because I think that rituals is a form of meditation to me. It's a very good way for me to cultivate my awareness and concentration of things. It is a very relaxing thing because, every day we live our life with our concentration and awareness going everywhere, but during ritual, I'm bringing all back in. Connecting on this idea of God or maybe my own nature. I'm bringing everything back into myself. In a sense, I feel this is very empowering to me. Because I'm seeking how to control myself. I'm learning how to manage myself. So I think this is something I like a lot for the practice. Then for what I appreciate about Taoism is actually the openness to it. In Taoism, we are always encouraged to explore not just religion, but in terms of everything, explore, learn.
So it's a continuous learning process.
Yes.
I wanted to learn a little bit more. You mentioned interfaith. Living in a multicultural country, multi-faith country, we may still have questions or doubts about our faith, like especially when you bring it up to, say, a authority figure within their religion. How can one approach that? How did you approach that? I'm sure you had your own doubts also as you were learning.
I think at the end of the day, it's more of, if you really believe in that religion, then the matter of your own spiritual development is, of course, your priority. So if this is your priority, I think it will be very easy to ask the figure of authority because, if you're dying to ask a question, you'll definitely go and ask.
Yes.
I think it's easy for me to go and ask.
To do it. But what if it doesn't align? What if the answer doesn't align with your values?
I will probably thank them because I know that my understanding might not be right. Yes, but it's good to still talk to these people who have different values from you because your understanding might be very sharp at first, and it's through this talking with different people where you get molded rounder and rounder, where you finally have a complete understanding of things. So don't be afraid that people's values and opinions are different from you, but instead hear from their perspective, empathize from their point of view, and slowly come to your own understanding.
And it's important, that means basically be brave enough to start the conversation at least, because I think a lot of them might hold back because for fear of
being
judged or criticized. But I think that's how we learn, right? Whatever faith we are, the more we ask, the more we learn. Now, coming to another question is, your family, they are atheists, am I right to say that? Agnostic?
Now agnostic lah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so how did they, sort of look upon the fact that, you started off as an atheist, then you went into Christianity, and then now you are a ordained priest. How did they accept it?
I'm very, very grateful and thankful for my parents because they have always been very supportive of my religious journey. They always let me explore what I want. To them, it's just, if as long as you're happy, you're fine. Actually, I had more difficulties going into Christianity than Taoism because they hear a lot of stereotypes, from coffee shops and all those about, if you become a Christian, then they will donate all the money to the church. Or then they ditch their parents. So they're just worried about that. So when I converted to Taoism, they were much more relaxed because they don't know anything about Taoism. But it was very funny because at first they thought that I was getting scammed. They thought I was going to a cult. So I had to reassure them. Yeah, it was very lucky that my master was somebody that appeared on the news a lot. So I just have to show them the news articles.
That's legit.
Yeah, this is legit. Then they're like, okay, yeah, sure.
Did you ever talk to them about becoming Taoist as well?
Yes, I'm very close to my parents. Even if they don't ask, I will share these things. Sometimes they might understand, sometimes they might not, but they have always been very supportive.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I ask this is because, like a lot of the younger generation, they may not subscribe to the religion that they're born into. If they wanted to explore other religions, right? How can they start that? Because not every parent, not every family might be so accepting.
Yes.
Right. So what advice can you give for younger generation? How can they, start a religious journey to explore other faiths and still, gain acceptance from their family? Like from your perspective as a Gen Z as well.
You have to respect your parents first because you are living under their roof. Yeah. And they are your parents. Yeah. But if you are really interested in exploring other faiths, you don't have to participate in the religious activities first. You can go into the teachings, the philosophy, the history of it first. Then only when you are mature, I think use your actions to prove that you really mean it. Then you convert if you really want, or you participate in other religious activities if you really want. I know this is easier said than done, but I just want to remind that religious freedom is
for everyone.
Is for everyone in Singapore. And ultimately you are individual yourself. Yeah.
I think that's great advice, that you have for them to get the theory down and really understand what is the foundation first before you even broach it with your family.
Yes, yeah.
Like why rock the boat first, right?
Yeah, because I think a lot of the younger generations are more interested in the very colorful practice out there first, instead of really the teachings. But it should be the other way around,
I see.
Yeah, these colorful practices are just an illusion. It's just facades.
Facade. Now, I have an interesting question for you. Do you think you'll be going to heaven because you are a priest? So do you think you get more brownie points for that?
I don't know. But to us, in Taoism, heaven and hell is more of a state of mind. I don't have to die, then I will go to heaven or hell. I can be in heaven and hell right now. Like if I am angry now, I'm actually already in the Azura realm, the demonic realm. Yes. And if I am happy, joyous, I'm already in the heavenly realm. It's not based on merits. Yeah. It's really based on your state of mind and understanding. So that's why in my religion, we always practice meditation. Yeah, because it's to mature our mind, to be prepared of that last moment of death. So when we do merits, when we do good things and we do bad things, it's just helping us to create a better situation so that our mind can constantly be in that state. It's not because we want to have good things to happen to us. We want bad things to happen to us.
Wow, that's really interesting, because it actually encourages the person to constantly choose moments where, they are positive and they are happy, and so that you live your life happily in a positive way, right? As opposed to like what you mentioned earlier, you don't think about the future. You have to think about how you feel right now in this moment, you know. Now, earlier you mentioned that, you've graduated. Congrats.
Thank you.
Did you just graduate?
Yes, I just graduated.
Okay, congrats. And you are going into social work. Now, is there some connection between going into social work and, the path that you've chosen as a priest as well?
Definitely. I think it's the same motivation of what makes me want to become a priest. I think I have this strong sense of injustice for people. So when I see that things are not right, I will want to help. And I think that when you see somebody in distress, it's always a human nature to want to help people. Again, it's also a personal thing. I think like I cannot work a job that is 9 to 5. Yeah, I would want to work a job that I find meaningful. So I think social work is something that fits me. Yeah.
Now, we come to an interesting topic. In a couple of days, I think, or so a week's time is the Hungry Ghost Festival.
Yes.
Right. Could you share a little bit more about that from a Taoist perspective?
Okay, so the Hungry Ghost Festival, actually in Taoism, we call this the Zhongyuan Festival.
Okay.
So we believe that there are 3 realms in Taoism. So there's the heavenly realm, there's the earthly realms, and there is the water realm. And there are 3 deities that are in charge of this realm. So we call them the heavenly official, the earthly official, and the water official. So we believe that the heavenly official give blessings during Chinese New Year time.
I see, okay.
The earthly official pardons sins during the 15th day of the 7th month, which is the Zhongyuan Festival. Actually, that is the significance of the Hungry Ghost Festival. It's actually the birthday of this, they call it the birthday lah. It's just a celebratory, for this earth official. Because he is a celebratory festival, he will descend upon earth and he will be able to pardon sins of both the living and the dead. So because of this significance, that's why during this period of time, there will be a lot of rituals and it will be heavily focused on repentance and also salvation. So we believe that in order to attain salvation, one must repent first. So there is the repentance ritual that is held for the living and also the dead. So we will call upon the spirits to be there so that they can repent of their wrongdoings. Similarly, the living can do that as well. And after that, at night, there will be a salvation ritual for all, where we'll invite the deities to take witness. These spirits and the living will be able to listen to scriptures. So actually, it's the meaning in that scripture that is the most important. The spirits, they might not be able to hear or something, or it's in a different language that they don't know. So it really depends on the priest that is holding the ritual to transfer that understanding to the spirits. That transference of understanding is something that cannot be told.
I see.
Yeah, it's something that is within. Yeah, only through allowing these spirits to understand the impermanence of life, the nature of reality and everything, will they be able to receive salvation. Yeah. So because in Taoism, we believe that hell is not a place where you are punished to, actually. Yeah, so hell is actually a place where these souls put themselves into.
I see.
Yeah.
The heaven and hell concept
Yes.
that we come back to. Funny that you mentioned it because we always think of going to hell as being punished.
Yes.
Right? So in this case...
No, so I always use an example of for a person having depression, maybe, they lock themselves in their room. So that is their version of hell. Their doors are always open, but they are not willing to come out.
I see.
Yeah. So when we do those rituals as a priest, and we are actually acting as a counselor to go into their room, knock on their door, ask how are they, give them understanding, let them know about the outside world, deal with their illness or whatever worries they have, and slowly lead them out of that room. Yeah, so that is what salvation means to us.
Right, and that's the significance of the
7-month ritual.
I see. Wow, that's so interesting. So growing up, my idea of the Hungry Ghost Festival was really that, literally
It's
hungry.
about ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get why it's called Hungry Ghost Festival as well, because you see the prayers to others in public, beside the roads and all those. But that is actually more of a Chinese thing. So, during this period of time, it also coincides with the harvest day. In ancient times, they will take the harvest and pray to their ancestors. But, as Chinese, we always emphasize this value of compassion, not just towards the people that we know, but to the community as well, and to the spiritual beings. So, for the ancestors, they have people to pray to. But what happens to those that have nobody to pray to, those that don't have descendants? So, we believe that when these ancestors have no descendants to pray to, they will become wandering spirits.
I see. Okay, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, but it serves as a remembrance also. So you might be wondering, why is one soul in heaven, hell? Then why is there suddenly wandering spirit? Yeah, because in Taoism, we believe that a human is actually made out of 3 spiritual souls. So when you die, one of the soul goes back to the source. One stays at the grave or that place of death. This is the spirit that is people pray to during ancestor worship. So they're actually more of a memory type of energy that is left there. So we'll go to the underworld to receive judgment or whatever, to decide whether they go to heaven or hell. So some will be wondering 3 souls, then which one are you?
Yeah, how do you...
which one are you?
Yeah.
Actually, it's the whole idea of, the mind, body, spirit. All three are you, but they are separate at the same time. So in Taoism, actually the concept of Trinity is very prevalent. So 3 but 1, 3 but 1, 3 but 1 is very prevalent. Yeah.
Right.
That's why it was easy for me to switch from Christianity to Taoism as well.
I see.
Yeah.
So, as we are speaking about hungry ghosts and all that, there are a lot of superstitions that surround it.
Yes.
Okay. So, couple that I've heard growing up is that, when you see people burning joss paper and stuff like that, don't step on it. And, of course, you hear things like, if you step on it, something bad will happen to you or something will happen to your leg. So these are all like old wives' tale, they tell us that. And then a couple is during the Hungry Ghost Festival is do not go out late at night. Maybe if you could share about these superstitions, is there some truth to it?
I think at the end of the day, you just have to stay respectful to the practices. But I know that usually, outside when they burn the joss paper, is horrendous. It's like just throw everywhere. So it's very hard not to step on it. But I think at the end of the day, if you maintain a respectful attitude and you step on it accidentally, it's okay. Yeah. It's always about the intention. Usually those that get into trouble is because they have the intention of like purposely kicking or something. Yeah, so just be respectful. I think that's fine. Don't worry too much about it.
And do they come to you for help? Like, do they come to the priest?
They will.
I see.
They will.
Okay.
Yeah, but this can be settled by themselves at home. Yeah. So usually we'll give them a text like, you can just do this and it'll be fine. Yeah. So growing
up, what we heard is that if you step on it, just say sorry.
Yeah, just say sorry.
Just say sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
And another superstition that we often hear is that during this month, if you hear someone calling out to you, don't turn around and look. Is there some truth?
There is, but I think it's more of a folk superstition type of thing. But I think it does have some truth. Yeah, because they say that you have spiritual energy here, like fire. This fire is like protecting you. So when you turn back, the fire gets like extinguished. I don't know how true is that. I think it's more of like, I wouldn't necessarily answer to a spiritual being calling you, because when you do that, you are making a connection with them. Yeah, so if you come across anything, just act like they are not there.
Right.
Yeah.
So ignore it, basically.
Ignore it. Yeah, basically just ignore. You don't let them know that you're there. It's not that they will come and harm you. It's just it gets annoying if they come and follow you or something. Yeah.
So speaking of that, right, just to touch on that a little bit, how would one realize that something has happened?
Oh, I think this one is like, you will know if you know. Yeah, like you will know. Like, so for example, some people will say, it's so hot, but suddenly they are feeling chills everywhere. Or they will start hearing a lot of voices. Some say hallucinating, or some will suddenly see things appearing in their house. Yeah. Or their life just gets not smooth after that particular incident. So some will come and seek to cleanse or something like.
I see.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think, we've come to the end of the podcast. Now, before we go, do you want to share any advice for anyone out there, not just the younger generation, to seek their own personal spiritual or religious journey?
My advice would definitely be always go into the core of religion or spirituality. Go into the core teachings. Don't stop at the practices. Understand what they truly mean and slowly work backwards. Yeah, I think that's how I should encourage lah. And stand your ground, know what you want. Yeah, ultimately it's your own spiritual journey.
And along the way, if they have doubts, it's okay to feel those doubts.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right? Along the way, it's just to seek the guidance and understand. It's basically a lot of learning and understanding.
Yes.
Right.
And always maintaining right view. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, CheeTong. Thank you for taking the time. And, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I heard you're starting your new job.
Yes.
So wishing you all the best. And it's great that you're going into social work as well. So all the best in your journey, and we hope to see you soon as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode of Open House. Remember, for every question you have, there's somebody out there who has the answers. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share this video with anyone who might enjoy our discussions. You can also follow us on our socials for more updates. See you next time.